Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to TexasWolfArt. Today in this video we are going to make the resonating chamber of the Velociraptor seen in the 2001 film Jurassic Park 3. In the measurements, it's 2.953 inches by length and 6 inches by width. To start our build, we are going to use the previous clay that I have saved, oven baked clay. We're going to start by taking the remaining piece of the clay that I have saved out, and we are going to take each part of the clay apart and start flattening it out little by little. And it is important to flatten each of the pieces apart, and once you do, you flatten it with the rest of the clay itself. Once you've done that, we're going to start with a roller and we're going to flatten the surface out little by little so it can have a nice flat surface. Once the clay is nice and flat, we are going to go back to our sheet of paper of our drawing and we're going to fold it in half. Once it's all folded down, we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut it out. Now there's a reason why I'm cutting this image out. It's because we're going to do a mirror image. Because once you cut it all the way to a certain point, it'll be looking like this, a mirror image of our drawing. After the image is cut out, we're going to lay it flat on the surface of the clay because that will be our guide. Reason for that is because the remaining clay that is on the outside of the edges we are going to cut out with our knife, and we're going to cut it out all four sides of the edges until it looks like this. Next part, we're going to use one of our carving tools to cut off the remaining pieces of the clay on the outside of our image little by little until we have a nice 3D image and the thickness of the clay looking like this. Since we have our 3D mirror image of what we need, we can start by taking the picture off the clay, and now we can take the remaining pieces of our clay that we cut off and start flattening out. The reason why we are doing this technique again with this part of the clay is because we are going to cut out some extra pieces of the clay and putting it with our previous clay. We're going to start out by using a carving tool and cut out two circles. I'm going to make sure that both of the clay is the same size, the same edge, so we can start by putting these two on our clay. By using the drawing that I have, that's going to help me make sure that each part of each side of the clay is the same size, same width, and making sure I get all those details in there. Using my carving tool, I'm allowed to make sure all the details are in this part before going into the rest of the details with my fingers. I've noticed also that there are these two holes on both sides of the resonating chamber, so I'm going to add those real quick and make sure both sides are even, and later we are going to take our remaining clay and start rolling two clay balls. One's going to be small and one's going to be big. The reason for this is because we are going to put these two clay balls in a certain part of our resonating chamber. After making two clay balls, we're going to slowly and carefully remove our 3D image off the sheet so we can start by flipping it over to its other side so we can work on the inside of the resonating chamber. After that, we're going to take our two clay balls and put it on a metal straw so it can make a sound like in the movie. Now we can start putting it all together. Put the next feature of the bone in the chamber and remove the metal straw from it, and we're gonna put it in the oven for 250 of baking it and the timer for 10 minutes. After it's out of the oven, you can notice that there are some parts that were not fully closed, which is fine. And you notice I am taking an upper piece of the tube from the bone because there's gonna be a reason for that. So we're going to start by adding some more feature of clay onto our resonating chamber, just filling in those gaps and adding the larger features to the resonating chamber. This will be a repeating process of adding in some features to the resonating chamber by putting it in the oven for the same bake and for the same time. Later I noticed that there was a piece missing that looks like a vomer bone from inside of her nose, so I'm going to take care of that real quick by adding it in. After finishing this part, we're going to add in another feature in front of the resonating chamber, and after we get this all nice and adjusted, we're going to throw this in the oven for the same bake and time. And once it's out of the oven, we are going to add a feature in the middle of the resonating chamber to give it that effect. Just use a knife or one of the carving tools. And now we're going to work on the back of the resonating chamber, getting it nice and wide, very careful, and also adding in a bottom feature of the resonating chamber at the bottom. Once you take this piece, just blend it in with the resonating chamber all nice on both sides, and once it's all blended in on the both sides of the resonating chamber, it'll be looking like this. Once we take care of that part, we're going to add in a feature that looks like a vein on both sides of the resonating chamber. Just make sure you adjusted it and get all parts of it right, and we're going to add in some details of the bone vein into the resonating chamber. After we add in our details on the vein, we are going to start by taking the same amount of circle clay and add it to the layer of the resonating chamber, and we're going to add in a little bit more details, and we're going to throw it in the oven one more time. After it is done, we can finally put the last remaining details on the resonating chamber of the Velociraptor. And after many hours, our resonating chamber of the Velociraptor from Jurassic Park 3 is finally complete.
So high, I'm hypnotized.
Hey, baby.
Yeah.
What's your favorite book series?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would have to say my favorite book series to start out with is Harry Potter. I remember reading the very first Harry Potter book of the Sorcerer's Stone with my sister, and when the year 2001 came out, we saw the very first Harry Potter movie, and I was literally blown away by that movie, and I got hooked not only by the movies of the Harry Potter, but I also got hooked by the Harry Potter books as well, and I enjoyed every moment, every chapter, and it's amazing of what that book is filled, and I really enjoy it, and it has a little place in my heart.